Very good. All right, so we learned this is the first Sicha. This is the continuation. This, God willing, this is the we'll conclude this today. This is the first Sicha, the first speech that the Lubavitcher made on celebrating Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz. Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz was the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was released from prison. It also happened to be the Yud Beis is also his birthday, the previous Lubavitcher. It was the day that he was released from prison. And he was released from, and we talked about this a lot of times. He stood single-handedly against Stalin's regime as far as Jews were concerned. He said, no matter what, I am going to give the Jews an opportunity, at least some Jews, even one Jew, the opportunity to learn Torah and to do the commandments. The women can go to the mikveh. There'll be kosher food. There'll be shochatim that are going to go around. There'll be pizza. All this was totally against the government. This is all done in total secret. And finally, they arrested the Rebbe. How they didn't arrest him earlier is an amazing miracle, but they arrested the Rebbe, sentenced him to death. He was supposed to be killed that very night. And there was some sort of a mix-up, and they didn't kill him. They didn't kill him on that night. And because of that, so the whole thing became sort of confused. And then there was a world outcry. The Hasidic Chabad, they knew some of the senators in America, and Russia wanted to make a good impression on the world. Anyway, finally what happened is, the Russians could have easily said, oh, we're sorry, he was a big mistake, but we killed him, or he died on his own, or he died of old age, who knows what. They could have made up a million excuses, but they didn't. And they eventually changed the sentence from death to 10 years, and then to 3 years, and then they let him out. So in the end, the whole ordeal took a little bit less than a month. But it was an amazing, amazing victory. Nobody gets out of prison in Russia. No one got out. You went in, but you didn't. I mean, it was very rare that a person. And if they did get out, it was after he served his whole sentence, and etc. and usually they charged people with things that were the Rebbe was really guilty of what they charged him. He had really spread out ideas that were counter to communism, that there in fact is God and that Torah is real. Any case, so he got out. That he got out is a tremendous, amazing victory, not just for the religious Jews and not just for Chabad, and for the whole world, for all of Judaism, and because the whole world depends on the Jews, so it's actually a victory for the whole entire world. People don't know it, but that's the fact. So in 1950, in 1940, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he left. This is when the war was happening. He left Europe. He came to America, and from 1940 to 1950, he began the whole outreach movement in America. And 1950 he passed away, and then the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he refused for a year to be appointed, and then finally he agreed to be appointed. That was 1 year later. 1 year later, on Yud Shvat. And then a few months later, from Shvat to Tammuz is 6 months. So in that time, the Rebbe spoke in public, and this is the first Yud Beis Tammuz that the Rebbe encountered as the Rebbe, as the leader. So remember what we were learning. That the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe really had control over the whole situation, and that he didn't pay any attention to any of the difficulties, and that he always increased to do more. And we should also do the same thing, not paying attention to the difficulties. We should also always do more. We should always be moving and increasing in quantity and in quality, going higher and higher. And the Rebbe said this also applies to young people in yeshiva, that they should take a week or two out and go around to spread Judaism, to try to encourage people, at least let the Jews in America, at least to let them know what Judaism is. Right? They don't even know what it is. at least to inform them that they give them a choice, at least they'll have an option to. So the Rebbe said, and this is also healthy. According to medicine, it's a good thing that a person should have once in a while a little bit of a change of environment. So it's also beneficial to you. Therefore, you should travel from time to time and spread out Judaism. Okay. Then the Rebbe is saying a nigun, and he said everyone should make a decision. Re'iti, I saw Rishima Yeshana. I saw an old, I guess maybe from the diary, from the Alter Rebbe, I think. Anyway, maybe from the previous Rebbe. In any case, there's a story from the time of the Alter Rebbe. I talked about this yesterday, but we didn't read it. Kasher Rabbeinu was talking when the first Rebbe of Chabad, he began to advertise Chassidut in Risin, and in Lita. In other words, in the area of like White Russia. As Bo Lefanav Litonen ala Chassidim. So he came, and now you have to realize that the first Rebbe of Chabad, same thing with the Baal Shem Tov, but especially the first Rebbe of Chabad, that as soon as he started teaching, there was war everywhere. Everyone declared war on him. Everyone. That the Alter Rebbe, first of all, he was against Napoleon, all of the first Rebbe of Chabad, right? The one who we just read, the Likkutei Torah. All of the great rabbis were in favor of Napoleon. Napoleon was an amazing, tremendously impressive, successful, and philosophical person that he believed in freedom and equality for all and to stop the oppression against the Jews. And all the rabbis were in favor, and the Alter Rebbe was against, to the point where he even sent spies to spy on Napoleon, because Napoleon trusted all the religious Jews, and to send the spies to the Tsar, because he said that if Napoleon wins, it'll be great for us physically, the Jews, it'll raise up the glory of the Jewish people physically, but it'll be destruction spiritually. And in fact, that's when intermarriage started in a big way. And it goes without saying, the non-religious Jews were against them. That was the Haskalah movement. And also the religious Jews were against them. They were the ones who put the first Rebbe into prison, other religious Jews. Anyways, as soon as he opened up his mouth, there was arguments all over the place against him. One of the claims that they came to him and they complained. They said, She'im Mamidim, that the pupils, they came to the Alter Rebbe and said, your pupils, they're pretending that they are able to think deeply about God, to love God, to fear God, to learn Torah Chassidut, Avodat Chassidut, upper level, these different levels of God. Like we just finished learning, pleasure in God. And the fact of the matter is your pupils, they're just regular people. They halten garnished thereby. So your pupils are, maybe you can do this, Rebbe. But you write like everybody can do it. What type of a thing is it? Your pupils, they're faking it. They're faking that they are tzaddikim, and they're faking that they love God, and they're just people, like maybe they're smart or whatever, but they're not same small soul level as you are. And they're faking, they're pretending to be tzaddikim. Stop them. It's false. The Alter Rebbe, he heard what they said, and he said, Kacha, really? Azoy, really, this is what they're doing? Says the Rebbe, if so, may it be fulfilled in them what it says in the Mishnah. There's a Mishnah in the end of Peah. Where is it? Here it says Peah, in the end of Mishnah Peah. And it says, Kol Misha Eno Lo Chiger, Velo Suma, Velo Piseach. Anyone who is not crippled or blind or another type of cripples, Piseach, a person who pretends that he hasn't got a foot and he pretends that he's blind, he pretends that he's this, in order to get charity, says what he pretends to be, he'll actually come to be. A person pretends to be blind in order to get the money, with the charity, have mercy on me, I'm blind, I can't see. In the end, he will be blind. So the Rebbe, if so, may this Mishnah apply to them. since that they're pretending themselves that they are Hasidim, they're pretending to be like tzaddikim, and they fake it and make themselves as though they really love God and they really fear God, and that they're really thinking into God with great depth, even though they're faking it. Nevertheless, all of these things, these details which are demanded in Hasidut, is therefore it says, may this Mishnah be that because they're pretending, in the end they'll come to do so. That they actually will have loved God. They will be like tzaddikim. This story, I didn't hear from the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, but this is written in one of the books of the Hasidim. The Hasidim wrote this. In any case, even if it didn't happen, this thing was made up, but still, it's a how do you say, a geschmacka musaskel. It's a how do you say, it's a nice idea. It's a how do you say, a pleasant idea. Geschmack is more than pleasure, though. It's like it's an enjoyable idea. I can't think of the proper word. Geschmack. There's some words in Yiddish you can't translate. As a geschmack musaskel. Even if the story never happened and the Alter Rebbe never had, nevertheless, it's a good point. What are we talking about? Gam im yu nidme shemishu poel ba'atzmo eza hazaza. If you think that maybe you have moved yourself a little bit, even though you're not relevant to this, right? You're going to someone say you should be religious, you should put on tefillin, it's the will of God, and the person says okay, and he puts on tefillin, it's the will of God, and he doesn't feel it's the will of God. He's just doing it because you told him to. Nevertheless, there's a psak din in the Mishnah that even though you're pretending, it says in some time in your lifetime, you will come to actually be genuine. Genuinely, you will change. And this is especially what we're talking about in the Tanya. He explains this also later on in chapter 14, the other places, that if you pretend to be a tzaddik, is eventually you will. Why? Because you were sworn in to be a tzaddik. You really potentially are that. Okay, if you really move from your place and you really do change, then in the end, you'll go on from all of your limitations. Like the previous Rebbe once said, since that ice begins to melt, the ice had sich schon geriert. As soon as ice begins to melt, then in the end it'll turn into water. And then afterwards, you can even make it hot water. Until afterwards, you can even make warm water. And you can even get what's called living water. So what are we saying? A person could say, listen, come on, I'm going to pray. I'm going to put on tefillin. What am I, some sort of a big tzaddik? I can't, I'm a liar. I can't fake it. And you say, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is that you can fake it. And it's a good thing because that's who you really are. Right? It's like a person that he's a drunkard saying, come on, I'm not going to fake it, pretending I'm sober. I'm a drunkard. You say, listen, my friend, that you're a drunkard, that's the lie. That's the lie. The real truth is that you're a normal person, you're sober, you have potential that you can't use if you're drunk. The same thing is, I'm going to be a tzaddik. Who am I a tzaddik? The fact is you are a tzaddik. What's wrong is that you think that you aren't. Therefore, that conceals who your true potential. Harebi Omer Pam, the Rebbe once said, "Benogel inyan shel hazazat chizion loyla shekiv and shematzu lashon dimyonot shava zmashma sheyochol lios dimyon she'enu shava haynu sheyesh dimyon shehu davar chiyuvi." Sometimes a person has dreams, right? You have dreams. You dream in the nighttime. Oh, I just dreamt that I'm rich, that I'm a captain of a ship, and that maybe this is really real, right? Maybe this is really. Says, listen, it's just a dream. Don't pay much attention to it. It's a false dream. So because there's such a thing as a false dream, maybe there's also a true dream. A true dream means that sometimes you can imagine things in your mind and that they really can come true. What is this? That it could be that if a person thinks about doing things that are good, even though that he's not really doing it, right? He imagines in his mind how he's sitting and learning Torah, he's imagining in his mind. So, but it could be a thing that'll really be true. It'll at least move you a little tiny bit in that direction. Not just in a way of imagination. Alatar. Right? There's people that can write books. You ever read these books, the geniuses the people that can write these amazing novels, classic novels, and nothing really happened. They didn't even intend to do it. Novels about war. They could be the biggest cowards in the world, but they write about people who are brave. And says the Rebbe, that's false imagination. But there's such thing as true imagination. That a person can really imagine that he's a tzaddik and that he does the commandments with love and with fear. He says, and this will cause a little bit of a movement in his soul. If it doesn't do it immediately, so after a while, and nevertheless, it says a person is promised that if he pretends to do something bad, if he pretends that he's blind in order to get money, whatever, then eventually in his life he'll become blind. And a good thing is more powerful than a bad thing. If you pretend that you're a tzaddik and you pretend that eventually in your life you'll come to that. Muvtachlo, it's trust, it's promised. You won't, sometime in the course of your life, that you actually will become this good thing that you imagine. If it works with a bad thing, how much more so with a good thing? Continue what we said before about sending the pupils of the yeshiva. Now I want to remember, this is 1951. These things were unheard of in America and the world in general, but in America, that Jews in America, they figured, they came to America and they said, listen, now there's no Holocaust, there's no difficulties, we're accepted, right? Jews could be accepted. If you looked like a non-Jew and you acted like a non-Jew, and all of a sudden you saw there were Jews standing up on stage. It used to be all the comedians in America. I remember when I was young, all the comedians, they were popular. They used to be Jews, right? The singers, the performers, right? They were Jews. At those days also, the world wasn't open, the white world wasn't open to blacks. It wasn't open to blacks. So the whole stage was free, right? All the talents and the things that the blacks had, they weren't allowed on stage. It was mamish insane, but that's why it was accepted. It was okay. The Jews were white. So afterwards, they found that they were Jewish, and they found that, but they would let them on the stage, right? So that's success. You act like a non-Jew. You make all the non-Jews laugh. You make them all clap their hands for you. They could become rich. They become on the Supreme Court, the first Jew on the Supreme Court. But that a Jew should look like a Jew and act like a Jew, it was very rare. That a Jew should go out and try to convince non-religious Jews to be Jews. It's like trying to take a person and pulling him back into the dark ages, like 1,000 years before. We're free. What are you talking about? The non-Jews are accepting us. This is heaven. To take a non-religious Jew and to try to, and especially young people went out, young people becoming religious Jews, the most ridiculous thing in the world. Mainly old people. An old person is that's what he did. That's what his parents did. He's going to die anyway. So, he doesn't really want to do any big sins anymore. So he becomes religious. But a young person is full of vigor. He can enjoy life. He can go. A young person becomes a religious Jew. Okay, he wants to. The guy's nuts. He wants to. And he's going to come and try to convince me to be religious also. Who said a thing like that? The Lubavitcher Rebbe said it. The Lubavitcher Rebbe turned the whole world around. He turned Judaism around. Especially after World War II, everybody was depressed. All the Jews were broken. Either they experienced what happened, they knew somebody it happened to, they heard about what happened. Judaism was like at a low point of pride. To a degree it lasted up to now, of pride. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe came and turned the whole entire thing around. Right? The only thing a Jew had to be proud of is maybe, Zionism, for taking over the land of Israel and so on. But except for that, not, your pride that, you had what's his name? Hank Greenberg was a baseball player. And this is a pride. A Brandeis got set on the Supreme Court. That's a Jew. Oh, this is a Jew. He got set. But the fact is that they were very nice people and very talented people, very positive people. But, that's an additional thing to their Judaism. If you want to say it, hid over the essence of Judaism. And here the Lubavitcher Rebbe is taking young people, making them religious, and that they should go out and convince other people that the best thing in the world is to be a religious Jew. Put back Jewish pride. To be a Jew, to serve God, to do a commandment, you can learn the Torah, the best thing in the world. They couldn't believe that. But when they looked in the eyes of these young people and they saw that they really were enjoying it, that they really had something, and also these people knew I am a Jew and I don't really know what it is. In the end, they know that the essence of Judaism is not just to be able to play first base for the Detroit Tigers or to be, sit on the Supreme Court of the United States. That's a wonderful thing, but it's not the essence of Judaism. What is the essence of Judaism? No idea. I have no idea. In continuation, what we said before, that the Talmidei Yeshiva should go out, I want to say it again. Now you have to realize it's the first year that the Rebbe is the leader of the Chabad. Already he's starting to change the whole thing around. First of all, L'Hakdama, regarding the Kadoshim, Yeshnu Shana Shekatuv Alav La'akev. It says, and when you say Kaddish for a departed person, so it says the minimum is a year. Kivan Shedubar Odos Talmidei Yeshivos. One second. Where did I write this? One second. This is the Gemara in Yoma. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Kudshim. I take back what I said. Kudshim, holy things in the holy temple. It says that the Torah sometimes changes its language, la'akev, in order to tell that a certain thing is necessary. Has to be done this way. It's talking about the ox of the Kohen Gadol, if it has to be belong to him, his own. Teven shemedubar orot Talmidei Yeshivas, because it's talking about people learning in the yeshiva. Shekol echad mehem machshiv atzmo lekadshim. Each person that learns in the yeshiva is a holy item, right? That's kadshim are the sacrifices, the whole sacrifices in the holy temple. There's kadshim kalim, there's kadshim kadoshim. There's what's called a lower level of holiness, a higher level of holiness. It says like the shlomim offering and the ola, with all the different levels of holiness that there are. But the pupils that are learning in the yeshiva, they should consider themselves to be holy. They're relevant to holy things in the temple, like the sacrifices were. That we said before, the desire and the demand of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe is that at least for a few weeks, all the pupils should go out to another city, or they should remain in that city, but they should go out of the yeshiva, right? Like a city like Chicago, or there's millions of Jews there. In order that they should go and spread out Judaism and strengthen Judaism, this is relevant not just to the pupils who learn in the yeshiva, but also it's an obligation for all pupils of all yeshivas. Everyone who learns in any yeshiva should go out and try to convince other Jews something about Judaism. But the pupils of Talmidei Yeshiva, of course, they have to ask for permission. Don't do it on your own. This is in Yeshayach, and Mistama, probably the managers of the yeshiva, the directors of the yeshiva, the rabbis will give the permission to do that. But still, it has to be in a way that it's controlled, but it has to be done. Because how much more so if they give permission to the pupils to travel like 6 or 8 months in order to go to a summer camp, right? So this is when they started making, it was in the time of the previous Rebbe also, they would make summer camps and invite non-religious children to go, right? They would make it attractive and they would make it subsidized. Certainly you could give them the permission to go for several weeks or whatever, and but if you give them permission to go out to for a vacation, certainly they're going to give them permission to go out and spread Judaism. And this is what really makes you healthy physically and spiritually. So here the Rebbe is saying not exactly like what I said. In America, how does it work? In America, they have summer break. All the schools get out for like, how long is it? A month, 2 months? June, July, I think August. I think they get out for 3 months. So the yeshiva is also the same thing. They get a break. They get a break to go out. It says if people get a break for a month or 2 months to go out and just to go, for a vacation somewhere. So how much more so for sure, the yeshivas will give them permission to go out and for a break to spread Judaism. Even though this is a very unusual thing that the Rebbe is asking for, but he said that it should be done. Usually the heads of the yeshivas, they were people who were great in learning. It was an unheard of thing that people went out and spread Judaism outside. So the heads of the yeshivas, they had never done such a thing before, and they had never seen a yeshiva where such a thing was done. Except to the previous Rebbe, he requested it, but it really had not gotten into full steam. So the Rebbe is now talking to the heads of the yeshivas and saying that even though it might be a little bit unusual, but just think, if you're giving them a 2-month break for the summer break, so for sure you should give them a 2-3 week break in order to spread out Judaism. Also, there, what I'm talking about, the people in the yeshivas and the people of the Torah, I'm not coming to exclude businessmen. Also, they also have an obligation to do the same. Exactly the opposite, even more. Regarding people who are businessmen, there's no reason that they should go out and spread out Judaism. Someone who sits and learns Torah, as he's improving the world by learning Torah. But a person who's just making money, how is he improving the world in Judaism? Maybe he gives charity, that's nice. But his excuse for not taking a break and going and spreading out Judaism is very small. I know a lot of people, businessmen, and in their break, they go and they ask people around them to put on tefillin. Sometimes some of them have a whole, instead of taking a coffee break and sitting and talking on the phone, so they have a whole line of people that they go from office to office. And a lot of people, they see someone else comes in, a working man just like them, a lawyer, a CPA, an honorable, normal person, and says, how you doing, Jack? Time to put on tefillin. Let's put on tefillin. And they do it, right? They buy tefillin. It's very common in Israel. Since the business is to make physical money, as certainly they should think about making spiritual profit. Harbutz is spreading out Torah and Judaism. There's also a lot of businessmen that I know that they make a Torah class in the middle of the day. They take a break, a half an hour, and they learn a half an hour Torah, and they invite other people to come in. And sometimes people come in, and it's quite amazing. Sometimes they have classes that are 10, 15 people, and they daven mincha. And sometimes the Jews that started weren't even religious. They did nothing, but they're Jews. And they get there friendly, they talk. All the Torah, people who learn the Torah. So you might make a mistake and think, listen, since that the whole thing is they're sitting and learning Torah, and they're doing holy things, so therefore they don't have to go out and spread Judaism and put tefillin on people and try to convince others to act more Jewish and think more Jewish and speak more Jewish, right? Businessmen, no, their whole thing is just making money anyway. So at least they should take some time for holiness. But a pupil in the yeshiva, his whole life is holy. What, he's going to go out and spread out Judaism? It says no. And therefore, you say this might be a mitzvah that other people could do. And therefore, you have to stress that also people who are b'nei Torah, that they have to give a certain amount of time to take out from the yeshiva and spread Judaism. But the question is, what are you going to do? How are you going to learn Torah? You're going to take out 5 hours to travel to somewhere and to come back, or a week or 2 weeks. What's going to be with the Torah? What about the Gemara, the Rambam that you're supposed to be learning? Says the Rebbe, first of all, you should know that not all the pupils are going. Some of them will go pupils, and then afterwards they'll come back, and others will. So therefore, someone's always going to be in the yeshiva, and they will be learning Torah. In addition to that, even when they do go for the yeshiva, leave the yeshiva, the people who learn Torah, but nevertheless, it's true that when you're out on the road or you're traveling around, knocking on people's doors, asking them about Judaism, explaining them about Judaism, you can't learn Torah like before. You have a lot more distractions. But the fact is, you won't learn so much, and the learning also won't be as deep. Your mind is not so clear, etc. But you can learn. You can learn something in the morning, and you can learn something in the evening. At least you should learn, especially ideas of Hasidut, where it says Perek Echad Boker. Perek means piruk, it takes you apart. If you break away from your day and make this effort to sit and learn Torah, when you're not in that mood at all, so this breaks your Yetzer Hara. And by means of this, it becomes Perek Echad Shachris, it makes morning, it makes day. By breaking yourself, Perek Echad, it becomes Shachris. You put a little bit of light into your life. And also Arvis. Arvis means darkness, but it also means sweetness. Arivos and Matikos. Therefore, you can certainly learn, and the learning that you do when you're Bahalechtacha B'derech, when you're going in the road and you're traveling, that learning is sweet. And they used to have what's called Mirkas Shlichos. There's all sorts of amazing stories. Now the people who went on Mirkas Shlichos today, they're like 70, 80 years old. But there's amazing stories that they have of people that they met, and that now those people have they have families, and they're all, observant Jews, and they have children that are observant, and the yeshivas are filled with people that were aroused by these people that the Rebbe was talking about. When was it? 70 years ago, right? 1950 is 70 years ago. As we will learn, God willing, we can tomorrow. There'll be a class 8:15 to 9 o'clock. We'll try with God's help to finish, not to finish, but we'll do as much more of this Sicha as we can. Beautiful Sicha, filled with interesting ideas. Let's just do now the Hayom Yom. Yom Yom, where is it? How can we get to this? We had this problem before. Here we go. Hayom Yom, here it is. Today is Hayom Yom. The Tzemach Tzedek notes that on Parshas Balak it says, our master of blessed memory said to his sons, who is our master? The Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said to his sons as follows. To understand, the astronomers ask a question. Since the world is round, why don't people who are on the other side of the globe, why don't they fall down? Right? Or like in America, why? So the answer that the philosophers give, or the astronomers give, or the physicists give, is not true. What's the answer? That was like Newton's answer. I don't know what answer he's referring to. Newton's answer is that every mass has an attractive power of gravity. So gravity comes from mass. So things that have a mass, they automatically have a power of attraction. What this power is, he has no idea, but it's there. And you can measure it, and he measured it. And that's why the planets affect one the other. That's why you can figure out the paths of planets and things like that. So this answer is wonderful, and it works, and it says, but it's false. It's not right. It says the reason is, it says in Eitz Chaim that the 9 spheres where the planets go, this is igulim. It says the igulim is an aspect of godliness where there's no up and down. So therefore the people, and that's why the world is round in the first place. So it says, for this reason, the people who live on the opposite side of us, which to us seem to be down, but to them it's not down. The sky is above them. There's one continuation relevant to the heavens that are over it. In other words, what's the Rebbe saying? The Rebbe is saying the earth is created from this level of godliness that is not so defined. So there's not any up and down. The idea of up and down is a relative idea, right? Up and down in relation to what? Right? There must be something that's ultimately below everything, and anything that's closer to that is coming down, and anything that goes away from that, that's going up. But in the heavens, there's no up and down. There's no like ground for this whole thing. There's no ground. It's just creation. In creation, there's no up and down yet. There's no up and down. This comes from what's God's surrounding aspect. In God's surrounding, there's no up and down. So therefore, the people who are on the other side of the world, right? There's no absolute up and down. Everything is relative to where they are. So the ground, which is under them, that's called down, and the heavens, which are above them, that's called up. But the people who are standing on the other side of the world, right? Both the ground and the heavens for the people that are opposite, that's all down, right? Isn't that so? So it says it's not so. It's not so. The fact of the matter is that everyone is partaking of this aspect of surrounding level in which there is no true up and down. It's all relative up and down. So the people that are on the other side of the world, for them, it's relative to this because they're partaking of this level where there is no real up and down. This really is relevant to the idea of Torah and the commandments. Because the whole idea of Torah and the commandments is that you're living in God's world. And in God's world, there's no up and down like you think. It's not that one person is greater than another person, and one person is smaller than another person. But it's really every moment is infinite, because it's every moment is not in relation to every other moment. It's in relation to Hashem, which is this big surrounding level. So therefore, every moment can be infinite. That the past can be the same thing as the future, and future can be the same thing as the present. How this can be? Impossible. You can't understand it because it comes from a surrounding level. There's no up and down, no past and future. And we'll talk about more. That's what the Torah and the commandments brings. We'll talk about more, God willing. Today there will be a class, 3:00. Come to the Chumash class and we'll learn about the evil advice that Bilam gave to and almost succeeded in destroying the Jewish people. God forbid. And it didn't work. Pinchas came along, saved the whole thing, and that's next week's Torah portion, as we will learn today. Be with us 3:00. Shalom uvracha. Have a good day with Moshiach. No, that wasn't recorded. Okay. Was it recorded? No, I don't think it was. Okay. What can we do? Yes, it was recorded. I don't think so. No, I don't think it was recorded. Oh yeah, it was recorded. Yes, it was recorded. It's just what didn't come up on the screen. Okay. God bless you all. Have a good day. I'll figure this thing out sometime. I'll see you at 3:00.
What about till 3:00 you learning still?
Yes, God willing. 3:00. 3:00 for sure. Okay.
Have a good day, Rob.
You too. Have a good day.